Hey everybody, having an unboxing today. Today is a ZTE Axon M. So I'm really late to this. I know, like at least 2 months late because all the US tech reviewers and YouTubers already reviewed this phone like in November. But you know, if you follow my channel, I was actually at the launch event and I covered this phone at the launch. But for some reason, I was not able to get my hands on a review unit until now, like February 8th, so like 3 months later. But I think the reason is because this phone was being handled by AT&T. AT&T is a US carrier, so they were probably like, why the hell should we send a phone to some dude in Hong Kong? Like, he doesn't even get to use AT&T out there anyway, you know? But eventually, ZTE's person spoke to AT&T and was like, hey man, why don't you send one out to Ben? Because, one, he's actually American, so he goes back to the US sometimes, and two, this phone will get released in China anyways, and I live in Hong Kong, which is kind of part of China, like kinda. So here we are. I have this phone now. Not new, obviously. Everybody's already played with this phone, and I played with it too at the launch event, and I liked it a lot. So it comes with a AT&T SIM card that I probably can't use here, but I'll be able to use when I go back to the US. My family is actually in LA, so pretty cool that I like this phone. I thought it was pretty cool. Although I read the reviews later and the reviews weren't that great. I think for a first gen device, it's ambitious and it's worth taking a look. It can wait. Distracted driving is never okay. So this is obviously meant for Americans because, you know, in America, everybody drives unless you live in New York. So this is I believe AT&T gives its own packaging to phones, because I remember watching some of the videos for Samsung Galaxy Note 7 and AT&T had its box too. So I think if you buy the ZTE Axon from anywhere else, like in China or in Japan, I believe this phone's also in Japan, you'll definitely get a different box. So this unboxing experience is actually a little bit odd because this is just a US carrier box. So you have earphones. These look just like the Apple ones. The ones that come with iPhones. You have a US plug, which I will be able to use in Japan because I'm going to Japan soon, and Japan actually uses the same plug as the US. It's quite interesting, the different regions of these plugs. Like, because you would think one plug would be for all the countries next to it, but it's not. So this is in the US and Japan and Thailand, and then in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong and England, we use the same kind of 3-leg plug. Hong Kong plugs are very bulky. So this is the Hong Kong plug that's also used in the UK. And I believe Korea and Europe, Korea and Barcelona and Spain uses the same kind of round plug. So it's very interesting, right? Like you have these countries, you know, Korea and Japan are right next to each other, but then somehow they have different plugs. Anyway, that was a tangent. So that's it for the packaging. So this is a phone that you normally use like this, but you can open it up and then you can have a bigger screen, except there's a very visible hinge right here. So I'm gonna play with this for a bit and come back with not quite a first impressions, because I already had a first impressions of this phone, so a second impression or a wee first impression. I'll be back. Hey everybody, I'm back. So I'm gonna make this quick because I'm so late to testing this that, you know, there's nothing new for me to say. Like, whatever people want to know about this phone, the information's already been out for months. Like, if you're interested in this phone, there's a good chance that you've already watched all the reviews from Android Authority and The Verge and all those, like, you know, good tech sites. So you already know what's up. So there's not much new for me to add. So I'm just gonna make this more like my opinion. So first things first, this is how the phone looks in normal mode. The fingerprint reader's on the side, and it works fine. Fingerprint reader is right here where the power button is. Turns on pretty fast. Specs really good. You have a 5.2-inch 1080p display. Also 5.2-inch 1080p on the back. Snapdragon 821, 4 gigs of RAM. The battery is 3,180 milliamp batteries. So as you can see, the bezels are freaking huge. And right here, it's a 20 megapixel camera. There's only one camera, so there is no camera on the back. So that means when you take selfie, that's where you're pointing at. And if you want to take a normal photo, then you have to turn the phone around and use this screen. So it's kind of odd, but this is how the phone looks when you're using it normally. It's a little bit bulky, a little bit thick. But what makes this phone special is you can open up the clamshells and have two screens like this. So let's run through the modes really quick. So when you have two screens open, you can choose to do AB mode, which is you run two apps side by side. So you see right here, I have YouTube here. I can also open Instagram here. So now I'm watching Instagram stories and I'm watching YouTube videos at the same time. So pretty cool. And this works with almost any app so far. I mean, actually, this works with every app, the dual screen mode, because there is no optimization needed. But then now the other mode, just A, which is you're basically, see, it's a little bit buggy, which I'll get into later. So A mode is basically you're gonna extend the screen. You're gonna combine the two 5.2-inch displays together for like a 10-inch display as one screen. So why is this useful? If you're on Chrome, now our websites load in full desktop size and you can read better. Although there's a very noticeable hinge right here that kind of gets in the way. And on a lot of apps like Chrome, you actually get like the desktop version of Chrome, not the mobile version. And YouTube videos. So now you get to watch videos stretch out across two screens. Although again, bezels on top and bottom is huge, and there's a really noticeable hinge right there. So not every app it's optimized to use both screens. Facebook, I believe, is optimized, so Facebook works fine. So as you can see right here, this is like a desktop version of Facebook. It's not quite the mobile version. But Instagram wasn't optimized for it. But there's a way you can go into settings and force every app to run on both screens, even if it's not. So on Instagram, it looks like this. So it's kind of weird scrolling with that bar right there. And then if you watch stories, again, it really breaks the immersion with that line. But I think it's still cool that you're able to do this. So that's the second mode. And then there's also AA, which is mirror mode. So in mirror mode, you get to basically both screens are exactly the same. So you can run one thing and have it on both screens. So now how is this useful is you can watch videos, for example. You want to show a friend. Then you can prop up the phone like this on a table. And then you could sit here, your friend can sit there, and you guys can both watch the videos. It's the exact same things on both screens. So as mentioned, when you have everything on two screens, it's cool in theory, but this hinge in the middle really gets in the way. So I think the most useful aspect of this phone for me is just to be able to open two apps at once. So I can go on Facebook right here and then go on Instagram right here. So this is useful for productivity, because a lot of times I'll have email open here and then maybe a chat app right here. I can have WhatsApp right here, and I'm telling my friends and my colleagues, hey, I need to do this, and I can read the email. And it actually helped me a lot earlier when I was running benchmarks, because usually before I make this video of the phones, I'll run a phone through Geekbench. And you know, Geekbench sometimes takes a while. So a lot of times when I'm running Geekbench, the phone, I can't touch it. I have to leave it on the table. But with this phone, I was able to run Geekbench while going to, browsing Instagram or going on the web. So that's pretty cool that I can do two things at once. So that's about it. And then this right here just turns off the screen. So you go back to one hand use right here, like a normal mode. So really cool idea in theory. Couple of problems though. So first, the screen, this is a screen. So that means when the phone is normal, you're always pressing against the screen. And if you put your phone on a table, you risk scratching the screen. I don't see how you can use this phone regularly for a couple of months and not have the screen be all like scratched up, because you're always putting your phone down like this. You can't put a case over it, because if you put a case over it, then you can't open this up. So the only option is to maybe put a screen protector on this. But you know, this phone isn't an iPhone. I'm not, it might be hard to find a screen protector. And even screen protector, I don't know if it will get in the way of the hinge. So you gotta make sure it's thin, maybe like a plastic film, not a tempered glass. So now the other issue is the camera. As mentioned, there's only one camera here. So if you're taking selfies, it's fine. Okay, software is... Okay, so switch to the back. So let me switch back to selfies mode first. So if you're taking selfies, it's fine because this is how the phone's on our face. But if you want to take a normal photo, you have to hit this button and then you have to turn the phone around to do this. So it's a little bit awkward. So you see right now, the camera's really slow to focus too. You see right now, it's still blurry up there, the picture. So it's a little bit slow to focus. And then when you back out, after you're done with the camera, when you back out, then you're like, oh, why is the screen black? It's because the phone goes back to here. This is the normal way to hold the phone. So anytime you want to take a picture, you have to tilt the camera around. So it's a little bit awkward. It's kind of weird. But I guess there wasn't any other way around this. Unless they put a second camera right there, I assume. And then finally, the software is just a little bit clunky. So earlier you saw that when I was opening apps, sometimes it takes a little bit long time to load. It's just because the software, you know, Android didn't make a software that was capable of using two screens like this. ZTE had to optimize everything itself. So right now, look at how long that took. That took like a couple of seconds. Sometimes like apps would just crash on me. So now let's see. I think if I do this now and I open Instagram, it's gonna have problems. You see, Instagram right now it froze. It froze for like 2 seconds and then it finally opened, and then now I'm on YouTube. So in general, the software experience is just a little bit clunky. And as mentioned, I ran the phone through Geekbench. So the score is actually not that high. 1707 single core, 3197 multi-core. That's less than what I scored on the Elephone U Pro yesterday. Let me grab that phone really quick. On the Elephone U Pro, I scored a 1559 and 5197. So the Elephone U Pro runs Snapdragon 660. This one's 821. But the Elephone U Pro scored much higher. 821 is not that old a chipset. It's just a 2016 flagship, but it's really showing its age. And you know, and these bezels right here, you put it next to an Elephone U Pro, it's a night and day. I have a couple of opinions on this later. I'll get into this later. So let me finish talking about the Axon M first. So I personally think this idea is really awesome. Like a phone with two screens, so you can do two things at once. I don't really so much need like the bigger screen, but I like being able to do two things at once because I'm a writer, I'm a journalist, media person, so I have to work when I'm out and about a lot. So I really like being able to have email open and then maybe have a chat app right here, or like something that I'm doing work with, like notes or something. Oh, I want to show you this. I'm trying to play a game and the game actually works on... So I want to show you that even a really graphic intensive game like Breakneck actually works on both screens. But again, that hinge in the middle really gets in the way, but it's really cool to be able to play games across two displays like this. So far I'm not seeing any lag between the two screens, although from the reviews I've read, it does happen. So sometimes the left screen and the right screen will not react at the same time. So that would be problematic too if you're playing a game. So just want to show you that you can play games on both screens. Pretty cool. So back to what I think. I love this idea. I love being able to do two things. The problem is just that right now the tech is just not ready. Like maybe 2 years from now, when that Samsung foldable, bendable display is out, someone can make a phone like this without this noticeable hinge. Because it would be awesome if you actually have a phone that you can open up and just have a legit full screen without like this bezels here. You know, I'm not even that picky. Even if the bezels are a little bit slimmer, like maybe maybe even half the size of this, I would be okay. But right now, it's very distracting. And then also the software needs to be optimized a bit to be a lot more smooth. Right now, it's kind of buggy. Like switching back and forth between different screens. So every time I do that, you have to wait like 2-3 seconds. So it's a little bit slow. Sometimes when you're rotating the phone, again, it's slow. Like you rotate and it takes like 2 seconds to rotate. So this feels like, you know, this is a 2017 phone using Snapdragon 821, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like one of those 2015 like Chinese phones using MediaTek. Although this is a Chinese phone too, ZTE. But so I think awesome idea, but the tech isn't ready. Maybe generation 2, maybe the next ZTE Axon M or the one after that, Axon M3 would probably be really awesome. And I would definitely be in line to buy one when a phone comes out that they can slim down the bezels right here, and then also just have the software be a little bit smoother, and kind of figure out a way to not have the screen be exposed at all times. Maybe you can have a clamshell that opens like, you know, maybe open like this and have the 2 screens be like this, and then just have a third screen here for your phone. I don't know, but just right now the idea is awesome. Execution needs a little bit of work because this phone isn't cheap too. So really can't recommend buying this unless you are a tech geek who likes to play with stuff, or you just have a lot of money to blow. Because if you're buying phones for value, then you have to sit this one out. But really cool idea. Yeah, I forgot to talk about camera quality. I'm not going to go into it too much because reviews already made it clear that this phone's camera, it's pretty mediocre. So I took only a couple photos. Look at this. Look at how not clear it is. And I'm just taking a picture of this. That's not even that far. And it was slow to focus. Dynamic range is pretty poor. So, you know, I would excuse this photo quality if this was like a $250 budget phone, but this phone, it's like $600, $700 US. So the camera is definitely poor, but I wouldn't use this phone for camera. I definitely would use it to run 2 apps side by side. And also, I forgot to mention the Elephone U Pro that I said I was going to talk about earlier. So, man, I still can't believe how awesome this phone is. Although I realize now I made a mistake in my video yesterday because I kept referring to this as a budget phone. But this one's actually like $425 US, so it's actually not that cheap. It's a mid-tier phone. I still think $425 is awesome because this is like the same design as the Galaxy S8, and that phone is like double the price. But I see the point of some readers that if you're gonna pay $425 for this, then I shouldn't be comparing this to the other $150 or $200 phone that I usually review. Because I kept saying how this phone was a lot better than those phones, but this is not fair because this phone's like $200 more. But this design is awesome, man. I mean, look at this. Like, this is the best looking phone I own right now. I like how this phone looks better than the LG V30 and the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. Just because of this curve, it really catches my eye. It curves more than even the Samsung phones. Oh, I put on Nova Launcher too, so now the phone looks even cleaner. Yeah, so I'm loving this. I'm gonna make this my daily driver for a little bit for now. Elephone U Pro. Good job, Elephone. And good job, ZTE too. Just great idea. Thanks for watching.